Welcome back, family. Glory and honor to the Father. Yahweh, as we continue our study in the book of Revelation, and we were in Revelation chapter 14, Yahweh's response to the beast's power, which is the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet, the 666. And we had just finished the first 7 verses of Revelation 14, talking about the 144,000 being redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto Yahweh and to the Lamb, having no deceit or guile in their mouth, and being without fault before the throne. That was the first 7 verses. Now, before we continue in that same vein, let's look at some other scriptures just on the subject, but from the witnesses. Praise the Most High. First, let's look at Deuteronomy in Moses. Let's look at Deuteronomy in Moses, and let's take a look at this. We're going to start at Deuteronomy chapter 6. Deuteronomy chapter 6, and we'll go from verse 1 down to verse 10. Deuteronomy chapter 6. Now, understanding that the initial movement of our forefathers into the land of Canaan was a sign of our eternal movement into the promised land of the new earth. And we'll go into that in the book of Revelation. But our fathers leaving the land of Ham, going through the wilderness led by Moses into the land of Canaan that was promised to Abraham's children. And this is the thing. The land of Canaan came as a curse of Noah on the children of Canaan. And he said, cursed, that is, Noah said, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be. So the Heavenly Father promised the children of Abraham Canaan's land. Canaan's land, Canaan, was the youngest son of Ham. Okay? Ham had 4 sons, Mizraim, Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan. So we were taking Canaan's land, which our God promised to us. And within this, Moses, in his final address to our forefathers, which is what the book of Deuteronomy is, these be the words that the Father spoke through Moses to the children of Israel. This is Deuteronomy chapter 6, beginning at verse 1, going down to verse 10. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments, which Yahweh your God commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land whither ye go to possess it, that thou mightest fear Yahweh thy Most High, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as Yahweh Most High your fathers has promised thee, in the land that floweth with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Most High is one Yahweh. And thou shalt love Yahweh thy Most High with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words, which I command thee this day, shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. And thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house, and upon thy gates. And it shall be, when Yahweh thy Most High shall have brought thee into the land which he sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee, and goodly cities which thou buildest not. Now, this is the thing. Our fathers were promised cities and lands, cities they didn't build, lands they didn't develop. that was going to be theirs. Just so, when we go into the eternal promised land, which shall never be taken away from us, we'll be going into a city which we didn't build, a river of water which we didn't make, and we'll be given these things to enjoy forever. And here, the Most High instructed our fathers to teach the children and grandchildren about him and to honor him in everything. Okay? So it didn't say honor him and man. It said honor him. Again, Deuteronomy chapter 7. Why? Because of the promise, what he said here, to your forefathers. So let's look at again, Deuteronomy chapter 7, beginning at verse 6. Deuteronomy chapter 7, beginning of verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto Yahweh thy Most High. Yahweh thy Most High hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Everybody say we all God's children. Yes, but he does have, he says here, a specific chosen people. Yahweh did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people. But because Yahweh loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath Yahweh brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Know therefore that Yahweh thy Most High, he is Most High, the faithful Most High, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. So, brethren, the Most High's chosen people are chosen because he promised this to their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he promised them because they stood for him in the midst of an earth that did not. Okay? So forever, the bloodline is his chosen people. But through his mercy, the Father extended salvation to the rest of the earth. Through his mercy, he extended salvation to the end of the earth. And let's go to Acts chapter 15. Acts chapter 15. This is James speaking to the brethren in Acts chapter 15. I want you to read this carefully, beginning at verse 12 and going from verse 12 down to verse, let me see, from verse 12 down to verse 18. Okay? This is concerning the believing Gentiles. And of course, James is here quoting from an Old Testament prophet, Amos. Okay, so we'll go back there too. But here in Acts chapter 15, then all the multitude kept silence and gave audience to Barnabas and Paul, declaring what miracles and works Yahweh had wrought among the Gentiles by them. And after they had held their peace, James answered, saying, Men and brethren, hearken unto me. Simeon hath declared how Yahweh at the first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name. So what did he do? He took out of the Gentiles a people for his name. He did not take all the Gentiles as his people. Church is ecclesia, called out. Our fathers were called out of Egypt. Gentiles were called from among the Gentiles. And he says it here. Simeon hath declared how Yahweh at the first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name. And to this agree the words of the prophet. So now James is going to back up what he just said with the witness of the prophets. As it is written, verse 16, after this I will return and build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen down, and will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up, that the residue of men might seek after Yahweh, and all Gentiles upon whom my name is called, saith Yahweh, who doeth all these things. Verse 18, known unto Yahweh are all his works from the beginning of the world. So he chose a people from Abraham's seed, literal bloodline, that are his chosen. And he offered salvation unto people that are not of Abraham's bloodline, but he called from among them people out of the world that are going to call their name, his name upon them. Let me see. Amos, this is the prophet Amos, chapter 9. Amos chapter 9. We're going to read exactly what James just gave us. Instead of reading it from Acts, we're going to read it from Amos. Amos chapter 9, going to begin at verse, let me see now. We'll begin at verse 8 and go down again to verse 14. Amos chapter 9, 8 to 14. Behold, the eyes of Yahweh, Most High Yahweh, are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith Yahweh. For lo, I will command and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. And this is again from verse 11 is exactly what James was saying. Verse 11. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen which are called by my name. That's exactly what the apostles were doing with the Gentiles. It wasn't for the Gentiles, listen carefully, to create their own religion. So Christianity was not supposed to be resulting from what the Messiah did. That's of man. Okay? And of all the heathen which are called by my name, saith Yahweh, that doeth it. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes him that soweth seed. And the mountain shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt, and I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel. And they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and drink the wine thereof. They shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them. So, brothers and sisters, never in the Bible was it the intention of the Father to replace the bloodline. Never in the Bible was the intention of the Father to create a new religion for the Gentiles. The Gentiles were taken out from among Gentiles to come with us, the chosen seed. Okay, so with respect to man, let's go back Isaiah chapter 2 before we continue in the book of Revelation. Isaiah chapter 2. I'm going to begin at verse, let's see, Isaiah 2. I'm going to start at verse 12 and read down to verse 22. Isaiah chapter 2 from verse 12 to verse 22. For the day of Yahweh of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up, he shall be brought low. And upon all the cedars of Lebanon that are high and lifted up, and upon all the oaks of Bashan, and upon all the high mountains, and upon all the hills that are lifted up, and upon every high tower, and upon every fenced wall, and upon all the ships of Tarshish, and upon all pleasant pictures. And the loftiness of man shall be brought down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low. And Yahweh alone shall be exalted in that day. And the idols he shall utterly abolish. And they shall go into the holes of the rocks, and into the caves of the earth, for the fear of Yahweh and for the glory of his majesty when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. In that day shall a man cast his idols of silver and his idols of gold, which they had made each one for himself to worship, to the moles and to the bats, to go into the clefts of the rocks and into the tops of the ragged rocks, for the fear of Yahweh and for the glory of his majesty when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. Cease ye from man, whose breath is in his nostrils, for wherein is he to be accounted of? So the Father is telling us he's going to bring the whole earth low and destroy it all. And that anyone trusting in man is going to have a problem. Okay? Jeremiah chapter 17. Jeremiah chapter 17, beginning at verse 5. Jeremiah chapter 17, beginning at verse 5. Thus saith Yahweh, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from Yahweh. For he shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in the salt land, and not inhabited. Blessed is the man that trusteth in Yahweh, and whose hope Yahweh is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. Praise the Most High. So there's a curse placed on man that trusteth man. There's a curse placed when you do away with the laws of the Most High. There's a chosen people, and there's a group of people among the Gentiles, a remnant group that's chosen to come out from among the Gentiles and join and be grafted into, as Paul says in Romans, Yah's chosen ones. Brings us back now to Revelation chapter 14. Revelation 14, because what are we talking about? We're talking about the difference between man-made religions, 666, and the worship of the Creator. Worship him that made the heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is. And there's no reconciliation between them. You can't worship man and the Creator at the same time. You're either all in with one and not the other, or all in with the other and not with one. Many people are being taught a lie that you can half be in. A woman cannot be half pregnant. Either she is or she's not. You cannot be half in the truth. Either you in or you out. Every person on the planet, every adult will make a decision. And we are living in the time of history when those decisions are now being made on a daily basis. This is not something that's in the future. It's already started. Revelation chapter 14, beginning at verse 9. So there were two angels that gave messages. There was messengers sent to the servants of Yah. And then there were a third messenger. The third one said in verse 9, Revelation 14, verse 9, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. In verse 11, and the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yahweh and the faith of YHWH, which is Father's righteousness. So, brothers and sisters, the Most High is deadly, emphasize, deadly serious about the worship of man versus the worship of the Creator. The devil is deadly serious in creating worship systems that glorify man. And now all people will be given an opportunity That is why the 144,000 of Revelation 14 have been brought forth to make the issue clear. You're either worshiping the Creator or you're not. When you receive salvation that's real, it comes from the Creator. The Messiah said, you must be baptized with the water and the Spirit. When that baptism comes, you cannot give man glory. If you really receive the baptism of the water and the Spirit, it came from above. It did not come from man's religion, man's churches, man's denominations, man's names. It didn't come from any of that. It could only come from the Creator, who is the same Creator that created and said, you are a holy people unto Yahweh your Most High. He has chosen you above all the people of the earth. You see, people that love the Creator will respect the Creator, right? It's like this. A parent can train a child up. A parent can train a child up as best they know how and teach the child all the right ways of life as best they know how. But when that child gets to be grown, that child can choose whatever way they want to choose. You are hoping that your training will kick in and they will choose what you know to be right. But you can't stop them from any choice they make because they're grown. So the Heavenly Father made man through Adam, and they choose whatever they want to choose. The earth is in trouble because man grew up and chose what he wanted and did not include the Creator. So the Creator sent forth his only Son as a ransom and said, this is the path. This is the path of the Creator. And he said about himself, that is, the Son said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes unto the Father except through me, which is why the early followers of Messiah were called followers of the way, because he was the leader to lead us back to the Father. He is not the founder of a religion. I want to say that again for our Christian people here. The Messiah was never the founder of a religion. He did not come to planet Earth to create a new religion. He came as the way to the Father, who chose Israel. I'm trying to make this as plain as possible. He came as the way, the conduit to lead people to Israel, to the Jew first, because the promise was to the chosen people. And then, as we saw, he showed through Peter or Simeon that he's going to take out a people from the Gentiles for his name. So that's why Paul says to the Jew first and also to the Greek. Okay? Christianity is not biblical. It's not truth. It's not from the Messiah. And it for sure is not from his Father. Nor either Judaism, Christianity, okay, or Islam. They're from man. They're from the 666. The 144,000 were called out of the 666, not only to worship the Heavenly Father, but to point others to him. And to give a warning about those that want to worship man. Okay? Praise the Most High. And the saints are left as the patients, that which is patient among the Gentiles, that which belongs to the Father, that keep his commandments and his righteousness. That is shown in obedience. His righteousness is shown in obedience to his commandments. Praise the Most High. He did not give his commandments to everybody. I know that's another hard one. He gave Adam commandments But then later on, as we just read, from Adam's children, he called out a chosen people from among Adam's children. And those chosen people come from the lineage of Abraham. And then he gave those people commands. And he said, I am Yahweh, your most high, which brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. He made specific message to them. Then after them, he says, I'm going to choose from the rest of the folks a people in my name. Okay? Praise the Most High. Revelation chapter 14, verse 13. Revelation chapter 14, verse 13. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, blessed are the dead which die in Yahweh from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. So this is the thing. From the time of the message of the 144,000, there are people that will die. And they will die even though their hearts want to follow the truth given to the chosen people. They may not have, but they would if they knew. And we all know people like that. They're even in our families. There are people that died Baptist, died Pentecostal, died eating swine, but they didn't know any better. They died in the truth they understood. They'll be raised with us because they're our family. See, this is all a big family thing, y'all. Most people don't understand that. The Messiah is family to Israel. Israel is the mother of the Messiah. We saw that in Revelation 12. Israel is the mother of Messiah. We are family. Who got on board Noah's Ark? His what? His family. His family. And we are inviting people to be what? Adopted into the family. It's a family thing. And we are allowing people through the grace of the Father to be adopted into our family. It's always been about family. Look, Moses was a Levite, one of the 12 tribes. Family. Joseph was the father of Ephraim and Manasseh, one of the 12 tribes, and now became 2. Family. Messiah is of Judah, and we're also of the 12 tribes. Family. And so when you have family, you don't treat family like strangers. We're family. And you don't act as if because you were born with white skin, your people have your own religion. You're called to be adopted, if you answer the call, into our family. Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. And we become, what do we say? Brothers and sisters. Brother and sister is family. Praise the Most High. I love verse 13. That's what I have written on my father's grave. That they may rest from their labors and their works do follow them, because that's the truth. Praise the Most High. Verse 14. Now we go to a different section, see? So we got the 144,000 and we got all of the message of them. And now comes a second part, a new section that's showing something else. And this also is in the prophets. So let's look first in Revelation. And again, brothers and sisters, let us please remember everything written in Revelation comes from the prophets. The prophets all speak, and they speak out of the book of Revelation. Most people don't recognize that because in this brainwashed world, They don't read the prophets. And they certainly don't equate Old Testament and New Testament. They try to separate it. But that's not what the Father does. Praise the Most High. Revelation 14 and verse 14. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud. And upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. Verse 15. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. Verse 16. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. Anytime you're dealing with a harvest in the Bible, you're talking about the Feast of Tabernacles. The Feast of Tabernacles comes in the last harvest of the year. We have yet to fulfill that harvest. The Feast of Passover and unleavened bread was fulfilled in Messiah. When I say fulfilled, that means the sign of it came to pass. The sign of the Feast of the Weeks, which is the Feast of the barley harvest, that was the early feast. The early rain came to pass with Pentecost. We are now in the Day of Atonement to receive the seal, to be ready for the harvest. The harvest is being shown here. That's the Feast of Tabernacles. See, if you don't understand the feast, you won't know what's going on here. You won't understand unless you understand the feast. The feasts were not given to everybody. That is why when people talk about Book of Jubilees, there was no Book of Jubilees. Jubilees didn't exist until Moses received it and gave it to the children of Israel. Before that, there was no Jubilee. And how do I know that? Because the Bible shows us. That's why. Don't let people throw you off by trying to introduce works that's not the Bible. The Bible is the book to lead us to the promised land. It's the oracle that we need, that the Father's Spirit used to lead us to the promised land. And so there was no feast until Moses was given it to the children of Israel. There was no sanctuary with a Day of Atonement until he said, let them build me a sanctuary that I might dwell among them, in Exodus 25, verse 8. That's the first time you saw a sanctuary being built. And he said, this is a shadow of things to come. So Moses's temple, his sanctuary, was a foreshadowing of the one made without hands. So here we're dealing with a harvest. Feast of Tabernacles is the sign of the harvest. It comes after the Day of Atonement is completed. The Day of Atonement is not yet completed because there was a delay. And the delay was caused by the Heavenly Father for the 144,000. Praise the Most High. Okay, so the earth was reaped. What happens next after the earth is reaped? So in other words, the Messiah comes and takes his people, reaps his people. Then what happens? Revelation chapter 14, verse 17. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. So one said it was time to reap, and it was reaped. And one said the clusters of the vine are ripe. It's time to reap that. But they're two different reapings. What's the second one? Thrust in thy sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth and gathered the vine of the earth and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of Yahweh. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horses' bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. So you had two harvests, one for the one that had the crown on his head, and one with the sharp sickle for the, what did it call it? The winepress of the wrath of Yahweh. So one for wrath and one for harvest of the man child. Okay, again, let's go and look at what the prophets say about the same situation. The prophets speak on this in Isaiah chapter 63. I want you to notice Isaiah chapter 63, verses 1 through 7. Okay, Isaiah 63, 1 through 7. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. That's the Messiah. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth the winepress? Remember, they were put into the winepress of the wrath of Yahweh. I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. And I looked, and there was none to help, and I wondered, and there was none to uphold. Therefore mine own arm brought salvation unto me, in my fury it upheld me. And I will tread down the people in my anger, and make them drunk in my fury, and I will bring down their strength to the earth. I will make mention of the loving kindness of Yahweh, and the praises of Yahweh, according to all that Yahweh hath bestowed on us, and the great goodness toward the house of Israel, which he hath bestowed on them according to his mercy, and according to the multitude of his loving kindnesses. So while he's destroying the heathen that rejected him, he's praising the Most High for his kindness toward Israel, his chosen people. Praise the Most High. So Revelation chapter 14 shows the 144,000, their message, their development, and then what happens after the message, the two harvests. A week from today, at sunset on May 23rd, we're going to be celebrating the commemoration of the early rain. Praise the Most High. At sunset, we'll be commemorating Pentecost. Praise the Most High. Revelation chapter 15. Let's look at 15 because it really does go with 14. Revelation chapter 15. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of Yahweh. So this part right here that we're reading goes with the second part of what we read in Revelation 14 in talking about the wrath. Remember, Revelation 14 said that it was casted into the great winepress of the wrath of Yahweh. And then here it talks about the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of Yahweh. So we're dealing with the wrath of Yahweh here. But remember what Messiah, what they said about him in Isaiah. I'm going to speak of the loving kindness of Yahweh to Israel. That's what's also coming here in Revelation 15. Watch. Revelation 15, verse 2. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having harps of Yahweh. That's the 144,000 with the harps. They overcame man's religions. And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, and the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are thy works, Yahweh al Shaddai. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. Who shall not fear thee, O Yahweh, and glorify thy name? For thou only art holy. For all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest. So now we're seeing the outpouring of the final judgments on the lost people of planet Earth. And after that I looked, and behold, the tabernacle of the testimony in heaven was open. And 7 angels came out of the temple, having the 7 plagues, clothed in pure and white linen, having their breasts girded with golden girdles. And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 angels 7 golden vials, full of the wrath of Yahweh, who liveth forever and ever. And the temple was filled with smoke from the glory of Yahweh and from his power. And no man was able to enter into the temple till the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were fulfilled. That is why Messiah said, I will keep thee from the hour of temptation that shall come upon all the earth, to try them that dwell upon the earth. The ones from among the Gentiles chosen as a people for his name, and those called by his name, his chosen people, will escape this wrath. But those who have chosen lies and man will receive their just reward. This is all coming very, very shortly. We're in right now the development of the 144,000. That's where we are right now. The next thing to happen is they're pouring out of the Spirit of the Father upon them, so they will be witnesses to him. And the last thing is the harvest. Praise the Most High. Okay, praise the Most High. Again, 666, the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet. Spirits of devils working miracles. We'll see more of that in chapter 16 the next time. But for now, this is what we got. This is where we are. And the Most High has already shown us what's coming. Praise the Most High. It is the calm before the storm. It is the calm before the storm. That's what we're dealing with right now. The calm before the storm. Praise the Most High. Okay. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, Hebrew Israelite family. Let us continue to pray for our gathering. Shalom.